In Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 243, Allah says, "Who is it that will lend to Allah a goodly loan so that He may multiply it for him many times over? And it is Allah who withholds and extends, and to Him you will be returned." What truly caught my attention in this verse is the word يبسط, written here with the letter Sad, not seen, and its meaning here is grants in abundance or extends. Now, regarding the various Quranic readings, qira'at, the scholars of recitation differ. Some recited it with sin, staying with the more common form, like for instance Hafs from Asim and Khalaf from Hamza. Others, like Ibn Dhakwan and Ibn Amir, recited it with both sin and sad, blending the sounds. And many reciters, like Warsh from Nafi', read it with sad, aligning with the standard script. These variations fall under what scholars call اختلاف اللغات, differences in dialects or linguistic modes. But here is what is fascinating. If we search the entire Quran for the word يبسط, we'll find it written with sin in multiple places, yet written with sad in only one single verse. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, we find يبسط written with the letter sin. The same is true in Surah Al-Ra'd, where Allah says, Allah extends provision for whom He wills and withholds it. Likewise in Surah Al-Isra, and the same goes for Surah Al-Qasas, Surah Al-Ankabut, Surah Al-Rum, Surah Saba, and Surah Al-Zumar. In Surah Al-Shura, Allah says, after Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, "To Him belong the keys of the heavens and the earth. He extends provision to whom He wills and restricts it. Indeed, He is of all things knowing." In Surah Al-Ra'd, Allah again says, Allah extends provision for whom He wills and restricts it. When we look at the various readings here, we see that يبسط with sin shows no disagreement among the reciters, as it is written and drawn with the letter sin. Its meaning is consistent also. It means to expand or to widen. However, when we compare this with the meaning of يبسط written with sad, we see that both share the same general meaning, to grant abundance or to extend. Thus, the word يبسط appears in every verse of the Quran with sin, except in one single place, where it is written with sad. But why is that? When we look at the two words يبسط, one written with sin and the other with sad, we find that both share the same core meaning, to widen or to extend. So what's the difference between them? Let's take a closer look. The sin sound and the sad sound have three characteristics in common: whispering or hams, softness or rakhawa, and hissing or safir. However, they differ in two main characteristics: open versus closed, infitah versus itbaq, that is, the sin is an open sound produced with the tongue not pressing against the roof of the mouth, whereas the sad is a closed sound produced with the tongue touching the roof of the mouth, creating a deeper, more resonant sound. Lowered versus raised, isti'la versus istifal. The sin sound is produced with the tongue in a lower position in the mouth, while the sad is produced with the tongue raised towards the roof of the mouth, giving it a more elevated, or I would say intense quality. This is what makes the sad sound one of the strongest letters in the Arabic language. Isti'la, elevation, is the characteristic of tafkhim, magnification, which means in language to thicken or to make heavier. In technical terms, isti'la refers to making the letter thicker by positioning it in its articulation point in a way that gives it a more intense, or I would say a robust sound. On the other hand, itbaq means the sound is compressed, and this compression generates a pressurized, intense sound, producing a more forceful auditory effect. Now, if we compare the two sounds, the sin sound is a softer sound, whereas the sad is strong, magnified, elevated, and compressed, making it a much more powerful, intense, and resonant sound. Now let's return to the verse previously mentioned where Allah Ta'ala says He multiplies it for him many times. The concept of multiplying it many times can first be found in the elevation and emphasis qualities of the letter Sad. The letter Sad itself carries a sense of loftiness and magnification, qualities that align with the meaning of multiplication or doubling. So, al-isti'la or elevation, in which the letter Sad is elevated in the mouth, and this elevation gives the sound a higher and a stronger tone. When we read the word يضاعفه, he multiplies it, it is as if the multiplication itself is not just an ordinary but an elevated and a magnified multiplication. The letter Sad is also a letter of emphasis, so the sound is deeper, richer, and carries weight. This reflects the magnitude of the multiplication mentioned in the verse. Allah does not simply multiply the reward once, but He multiplies it many times in a profound and intense way. As for al-itbaq, which is the consonantal pressure, so in addition to the elevation, the letter Sad is also characterized by constriction or pressure, where the tongue touches the roof of the mouth firmly. This pressure reflects the depth and the intensity of the multiplication. The sound of Sad conveys a sense of strength and depth, much like how the reward in the verse is deeply intensified, not just multiplied casually. Now, when comparing the Sad to the Sin, we can see that the Sad adds more weight, depth, and intensity. It's not just about spreading out or making something larger, which the Sin implies in its more common use, but it's about an abundant, intense, and grand multiplication that only the Sad sound can convey in its depth and power. In this way, the choice of the letter Sad instead of Sin beautifully aligns with the concept of multiplying many times by enhancing the meaning of the verse. This is an example of linguistic and divine miracles in the Quran, where the choice of letters matches the depth and meaning of the verse in ways that enrich the reader's understanding.
الذي يقرض الله قرضا حسنا فيضاعفه له أضعافا كثيرة والله يقبض ويبسط وإليه ترجعون